Hello, everybody. Happy Saturday afternoon. Hope yours is going well. We've got another Seahawks video to get to today, but first we are at 2,350 subscribers. I want to give a shout out to all the subscribers, and as always, special tip of the cap goes to the channel members, especially elite channel members, HaWKxXA, Brandon Mikel, Rip, Scott Todd, Hasher for MVP, VGK Tigers 75, John Harper, and Salacious Crumb. Last couple days haven't exactly been fun. We've taken a look at some offensive coordinator candidates that we could hire that very few people would get excited for, that most people would probably have a hard time watching the team next year if we got, people who would instantly get us made fun of across the NFL if we did hire them. And I get the sense that people are so jaded by the possibility of getting one of the two guys I've discussed in my last two videos that they don't even really want to think about it. Those videos, not a lot of people are watching them, and I completely understand why. If somebody else was making a video on the possibility of us hiring one of those two guys, Adam Gase or Kirby Wilson, I probably wouldn't want to look at it either. So today, after walking through hell, we're going to spend a little bit of time in heaven, and we're going to talk about an offensive coordinator candidate for the Seahawks that at the very least would be very interesting to just about everybody, and I think most people would really like it. So this weekend, actually, for both videos this weekend, we're going to take a look at an offensive coordinator candidate that people are actually maybe going to get excited about and might even start to dream of bigger and better things if we got them. So first, we're going to be taking a look at a very young candidate by the name of Mike Kafka. And a lot of Seahawks fans have heard this guy's name a lot lately. A lot of Seahawks fans have been discussing him as somebody they would like to get. And while I do believe that it's somewhat unlikely at this point that we can get him, it's not so unlikely that I can completely dismiss it. So let's talk about Mike Kafka. This is going to be a shorter video because there isn't a ton to say about Kafka's resume because he's only 33 years old and hasn't been an NFL or football of any kind actually coach for very long. I think that's part of the reason why some people like him as a 33-year-old. If you hire him as your offensive coordinator and he's good, then he can become your head coach. And if he's good as a head coach, then boom, you've got your head coach for maybe decades. So right away, Mike Kafka's age alone makes him very appealing. Now, with that age comes a lack of experience, and the first real coaching experience he got was in 2017. 2017 was the first year he was actually making meaningful contributions as a coach in football. He was the offensive quality control coach for the Kansas City Chiefs this year, and the Chiefs' offense was very good. They went 10-6. They scored 26 points a game, which was 6th in the NFL, so elite offense. They were 7th in the league in passing yards, 257 yards, and they were 9th in the league in rushing yards, 119. So really good with the pass, really good with the run, and this was with Alex Smith as quarterback. And you guys know what I think of Alex Smith. I think he sucks. I don't think he's a good quarterback. I think that the coaching staff in Kansas City while he was there did a tremendous job making him look much better than he actually was. I'm not going to say Mike Kafka was the main guy behind that, but I would say that Kafka owns at least some of the responsibility for making Alex Smith look so good in Kansas City for this year. And at this point, the Chiefs changed quarterbacks, and they also brought Mike Kafka in to be their quarterback coach. So for the next 2 years, Mike Kafka was the QB coach for the Chiefs. Both years, they went 12-4. Both years, they had a top 5 offense. One of these years, they actually had one of the best offenses ever. This 2018 season, they scored 35 points a game. It did drop off a little bit in 2019, but that was partially because the quarterback they were using got hurt for a couple games. And they got elite production from their quarterbacks both years. This first year, Pat Mahomes lit the world on fire, won MVP, threw for over 5,100 yards, 50 touchdowns, 12 picks, 66 completion percentage, insanely high rating, almost 114, and, like I said, won MVP. This next year, it fell off. Mahomes missed 2 games, but you know what? Matt Moore came in and played really well for a couple games. They still threw for almost 300 yards a game, 30 touchdowns, 5 picks, really efficient, really good completion percentage, high rating, and Mahomes still made the Pro Bowl. So Mike Kafka, for as much as you want to credit him, and I will be addressing that elephant in the room shortly, is doing great stuff as a QB coach in Kansas City. Look at these tremendous results that Kansas City got out of their quarterbacks these 2 years. And finally, that brings us to the current year, 2020. The Chiefs upgrade him from quarterback coach to passing game coordinator. And he also serves at the same time as the quarterback coach. So he's now filling 2 roles for the Chiefs, and so far 2020 has been a banner year for the Kansas City Chiefs team. They went 14-2, best team in the league in the regular season, almost 30 points a game, which was actually not even top 5 because of how good offenses were this year. So not quite top 5, but 6th, still an elite offense. And they they were 3rd in the league in passing attempts. They were one of the most pass-happy teams in the league. They were 1st in passing yards, over 300 yards per game, 40 touchdowns, which was 3rd, and 7 interceptions, which was an incredibly low total, 2nd lowest total in the league. So the Kansas City passing game was absolutely dominant with Mike Kafka serving as the coordinator. So before we proceed on, I do want to address the obvious point of contention when you're evaluating any coach that is coaching the offensive side of the football when Andy Reid is the head coach. And that is, how much are they actually doing? And the answer is, it's really hard to know. We know they're not handling play calling, and we know they're not the driving force behind the offensive brilliance. We've seen Andy Reid work for long enough and do enough amazing things to know that when one of his teams has elite offensive production, which the Chiefs had all 4 years Mike Kafka was on their staff, 6th, 1st, 5th, and 6th, we know it's because Andy Reid is a genius. So we don't know exactly how much Mike Kafka can be credited for this. We know that he should know a lot of the things that Andy Reid knows, but if Mike Kafka were to go somewhere else and fall on his face, he would not be the first Andy Reid understudy to do that. I look at Brad Childress. Brad Childress was an Andy Reid understudy, and he did not work out very well as an NFL head coach at all. I don't even know if he's currently on an NFL coaching staff at all. So, on the other hand, you do have guys like Doug Peterson and Sean McDermott from the Andy Reid coaching tree. They're really good. And at a certain point, you need to be willing to take a risk. The inability and refusal of this team to take a risk with their offensive coordinator hire may be the reason why we end up with an uninspiring candidate. And whatever you want to say about Mike Kafka and his attachment to Andy Reid, this would be an exciting candidate. With that in mind, let's jump into the report card. Feasibility. I gave him a 6 out of 10, so a little above average, but not by much. It seems like Kafka wants to stay in Kansas City. If he stays in Kansas City, he has a pretty good idea that he's going to be able to take the offensive coordinator job in 2021. And while he won't be able to do play calling, meaning that him coming to Seattle would be a step up for his career, he seems like he wants to stay around Andy Reid for a little longer, pick up a few more things, and then move on to try to be maybe even a head coach, or at least, take over play calling duties somewhere else. But in a vacuum, it makes sense. It would be a promotion for him. It would be an opportunity to take over play calling for a team. And of course, Seattle would love to get, in a vacuum at least, an Andy Reid understudy who has been around such tremendous success so far in his career. Fit with Pete Carroll, I gave him a 5 out of 10. I don't think it's possible for it to be lower than a 5 out of 10, just because everything he's been around has been very successful. He's been tremendously successful. Now, he has little experience, which I don't think Pete Carroll likes. He has very little history of running success, which I doubt Pete Carroll likes. The 1 year he was the offensive quality control coach for Kansas City, they did have a very good rushing attack, but clearly this is a coach with a passing attack in mind, with modern NFL sensibilities in mind. These results are so good that I have to believe even somebody like Pete Carroll would, on some level, appreciate having somebody like Kafka around, but the lack of experience and the heavy lean towards passing tells me that he's probably not exactly a huge fan of bringing in Kafka. Fit with modern NFL, I gave him a 10 out of 10. The only reason why you could shave points off of this would just be a lack of experience and a lack of play calling experience. But everything he's been around has turned to gold. Based off these 4 years, you cannot say anything negative about Kafka. You can try to strip away some of the positives by saying, oh, this is all Andy Reid's doing, but you can't give him any negatives. Every offense he's been around has been great. Every side of the football he's been responsible for has been great. There is every reason to believe that Mike Kafka could be the next genius offensive coach in the NFL. And my overall score, which is how excited I would be if he got him, best score yet, we gave him a 9 out of 10. I am wary of his lack of experience. 4 years in as a meaningful NFL coach or football coach in general is a flag. Coming from the Andy Reid tree as an offensive coach is a flag. We don't know if he knows everything that Reid knows. He should, but we don't know if he's able to implement those things. But otherwise, everything about this is golden and perfect and amazing, and it would be beautiful to get him. So that's my look at Mike Kafka. And look, if this team, if this coaching staff, if this front office wants to win the fans back over, win Russell Wilson back over, and make people at the very least curious and interested and excited about the future of this offense, this is what you do. I cannot guarantee it will work. I cannot guarantee that we're going to put together a top 3 offense next year and light the world on fire and break points records. I can't guarantee any of that. I can't even guarantee that this won't collapse on its face. I can't guarantee that Kafka won't need a year or 2 of experience before he's good. But if you want to excite the fan base and get somebody they would actually tune in to see next year, then Mike Kafka is one of those guys who can invigorate the interest of this fan base that I believe as a collective whole is just bored of watching this offense. They want something new, something sexy. They want something unexpected. And getting Mike Kafka, that would definitely invigorate interest. Even if you don't think it would work, it would invigorate interest. And with that, I'm going to get out of here. Peace out, go Hawks. Keep an eye out for streams later. We're going to try something new tonight, I think. And yeah, what do you guys think about hiring Mike Kafka? A little more exciting than the last 2 days, I think. All right, peace out, go Hawks. See you guys later tonight.